The rain pounded against the cracked window panes of the old community shelter like a relentless drumbeat, mirroring the storm raging inside Marcus's chest. He had just lost his job, again, and the weight of providing for his 5-year-old daughter, Lily, felt like an anchor dragging him under. As he paced the dimly lit common room, his fists clenched in frustration, he didn't notice the frail woman huddled in the corner until she flinched at his raised voice. "Please, don't hit me, I'm already hurt," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the thunder, her eyes wide with terror. In that instant, time froze, and Marcus realized he wasn't the only one drowning in this downpour of despair. Marcus stopped dead in his tracks, his hand still suspended midair from gesturing wildly during his heated phone call with his ex-boss. He wasn't a violent man, far from it. But the exhaustion of single parenthood had etched lines of weariness into his face, making him look harsher than he felt. Lowering his arm slowly, he stared at the woman, her thin frame wrapped in a threadbare coat that did little to hide the bruises peeking out from her collar. I wasn't going to hit you," he stammered, his voice softening. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you." Her name was Elena, though it would take hours before she shared that. She was 32, but hardship had aged her beyond her years. Born into poverty in a small town where dreams went to die, Elena had fled an abusive marriage 2 years ago, leaving behind everything but the scars on her body and soul. She bounced from shelter to shelter, scraping by on odd jobs, cleaning houses, washing dishes, anything to avoid going back to the man who had promised love but delivered only pain. Tonight, she had sought refuge here after a brutal day on the streets, begging for change to buy a hot meal. The shelter was her temporary haven, a place where the world outside couldn't touch her. Or so she thought. Marcus sat down on the worn couch across from her, keeping a respectful distance. Lily, his bright-eyed daughter with curls like her late mother's, was asleep in the next room, tucked into a cot provided by the shelter staff. His wife, Sarah, had died in a car accident 3 years ago, leaving him to navigate fatherhood alone. He worked construction jobs when he could, but the economy was unforgiving, and layoffs came as often as the rain in this godforsaken city. "Rough night?" he asked gently, trying to bridge the awkward silence. Elena nodded, her gaze fixed on the floor. She clutched a small backpack to her chest like a shield. "Every night's rough," she murmured. "But some are worse." She didn't elaborate, but Marcus could see the story in her eyes, the fear, the resilience, the quiet plea for understanding. He shared a bit about himself, hoping to ease her tension. "I'm Marcus. That's my girl, Lily, in there. We're here because our apartment flooded last week. Lost everything. Again." He chuckled bitterly, but there was no humor in it. As the storm outside began to subside, so did the barriers between them. Elena opened up slowly, like a flower hesitant to bloom in uncertain soil. She told him about her ex-husband, Victor, a man who had charmed her with promises of a better life but turned into a monster behind closed doors. The first hit came after a late dinner, the last one, just before she escaped, had left her with a cracked rib and a resolve to never look back. "I thought love meant enduring," she said, tears welling up. "But it just meant hurting." Marcus listened without interruption, his heart aching in recognition. He remembered the nights after Sarah's death, when grief twisted into anger, and he'd punch walls instead of people. "I've been there," he admitted. "Not the hitting, but the rage. It eats you alive if you let it." The next morning, the shelter buzzed with activity. Volunteers served watery oatmeal and instant coffee, a meager start to the day. Lily toddled out, rubbing her eyes, and immediately gravitated toward Elena. "You look sad," the little girl said innocently, holding out a crumpled drawing of a rainbow she'd made the day before. "This is for you. Rainbows come after rain." Elena's eyes softened, and for the first time in months, she smiled, a real, genuine smile that lit up her bruised features. "Thank you, sweetie," she whispered, taking the paper as if it were treasure. That small act sparked something in Marcus. He saw in Elena a mirror of his own struggles, the isolation, the fear of failing those who depended on you. Over the next few days, as they waited out the flood repairs, they formed an unlikely bond. Marcus helped Elena with her job search, using the shelter's outdated computer to print resumes. In return, she watched Lily while he attended interviews, her gentle patience a balm for the child's restless energy. But challenges loomed like dark clouds. One evening, Victor tracked Elena down. He'd heard through mutual acquaintances that she was at the shelter and showed up unannounced, pounding on the door with feigned concern. "Elena, baby, I just want to talk," he shouted, his voice laced with the same manipulative sweetness that had once ensnared her. Panic seized her. She hid in the bathroom, hyperventilating, whispering to herself, "Please, don't hit me, I'm already hurt." Marcus, hearing the commotion, stepped in. He wasn't a fighter, but fatherhood had taught him protectiveness. "She's not interested," he said firmly, standing between Victor and the door. The shelter staff called the police, and Victor was escorted away, but not before hurling threats that echoed in Elena's mind. The incident shook her to her core. That night, as Lily slept between them on the couch, Elena broke down. "Why does it keep following me? I try to be strong, but I'm so tired." Marcus held her hand. Nothing more, just a simple gesture of solidarity. "Because life's not fair," he replied. "But you don't have to face it alone anymore." He shared his own low point. The day after Sarah's funeral, when he'd considered giving Lily up for adoption, overwhelmed by grief. "I almost broke," he confessed. "But I realized strength isn't about never falling, it's about getting up, even when it hurts." Inspired by their conversations, Marcus and Elena decided to tackle their challenges head-on. He landed a steady job at a local warehouse, thanks to a recommendation from a shelter volunteer. Elena, with Marcus's encouragement, filed for a restraining order against Victor and enrolled in a free counseling program. She started volunteering at the shelter herself, helping other women escape similar cycles of abuse. Lily became their glue, her innocent joy reminding them both of life's fragile beauty. Weeks turned into months. Marcus's apartment was repaired, but he invited Elena to stay in the spare room until she got on her feet. What began as necessity blossomed into something deeper, a quiet love built on mutual respect and shared healing. One crisp autumn day, as they walked in the park with Lily chasing leaves, Elena turned to Marcus. "You know, that night at the shelter. I thought you were just like him. But you're the opposite. You've shown me what kindness really looks like." Marcus smiled, pulling her close. "And you've shown me that hurt doesn't have to define us. We can choose to heal, together." Their story didn't end with fairy tale perfection. Life still threw curveballs, like medical bills for Elena's old injuries or Lily's tantrums over missing her mom. But they faced them as a team. Elena found work as a barista, saving enough to afford her own place eventually, though she chose to stay. Marcus learned to channel his frustrations into positive outlets, like coaching Lily's soccer team. And Victor, he faded into the past, a shadow dispelled by the light of their resilience. In the end, as the sun set on their new beginning, Elena whispered to Marcus, not in fear, but in gratitude, "Thank you for not hitting me when I was already hurt. Instead, you helped me stand." Their journey was a testament to the power of empathy, proving that even in the depths of pain, one act of kindness can spark a chain reaction of healing. For anyone watching, the message was clear: we're all a little broken, but together, we can mend the pieces and build something stronger. Life may wound us, but love, true, patient love, can make us whole again.